Can you tell us more about yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Rishab Jain. I'm a 23-year-old Singaporean racing driver. I've taken part in a couple Formula 4 championships, starting from 2022 in the Italian one, as well as in the Indian Formula 4 championship in 2023. This year, I took part in a couple practice sessions and races in the British Formula 3 championship as well.
So, like, if you want to get into racing, does it always have to start from karting and race, like go kart racing, or like you can start from F2 or like F3 something and then go forward?
So the traditional way right now, I'd say, is yes, you do start with go karting because go karting is the best way to get the basics of racecraft, to get the basics of driving. It's where you learn how to brake, throttle, and accelerate, the three rules of racing. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're good enough and you're naturally talented, there's nothing stopping you from going into Formula 3, asking for a test session. Driving the car, there's no promise you're going to be good. You're going to struggle a lot, but yeah, the traditional ways you do go karts.
Oh, okay.
So you sparked an interest in motorsports at just 3 years old after attending a Formula One race. Can you tell us what that experience was like and how that shaped your passion for racing?
So I attended the race when I was 3 in Sepang, Malaysia. I remember crying out of the track because the cars were too loud. Back then it was like I think V10s or V8s, right? They're really loud. So I'd say that was my first experience in the cars, and it wasn't really a good start. But my passion came a bit from that, as well as back in the day, Hot Wheels and the Cars movie. That's where I really started to love racing, and that's when I started a bit of karting on the side, and the passion for racing started.
Okay. So, have you tried sim racing?
Yes, I have a sim at home as well, and the teams I've raced with, they have a sim for training for us drivers. So, in fact, that's where I do most of my training in Singapore because you don't really have tracks here.
Is the sim racing like experience very close to what actual driving is?
It's a very good indication of what real driving is like, but I would say the experience it is somewhat similar. It follows the same rules, brake, turn, accelerate, and now the simulation equipment is getting really, really realistic. But nothing beats the real life feeling of driving, and nothing can replicate that.
Okay.
Okay, so you clinched podium for finish in your debut international race. So how did that milestone feel so early in your career feel, and what did it teach you moving forward?
So yes, that was in Korea. Korea was my first international race in the Radical Cup. That podium finish, it's not one of the most competitive championships. It's not very competitive. So the podium feel was very good because that was my first experience from a go kart to a car. So from 100 kph now I'm racing at 220 kph. It was a big jump, but yeah, I mean racing at those speeds and getting a podium um, was a big boost for me mentally, and I think that's what you need in racing, and that's one of the reasons why I took the plunge to go into one of the most competitive championships in 2022, which was the Italian Formula 4 Championship, and yeah, it was a good confidence booster, I would say.
So, like, radical racing is a different car itself, right?
Yes, they don't have they're not single seater cars. They have like a twin seat on the side. It is like there's no windscreen. It's like an open car, but they use it's a Hayabusa engine. If you don't, that's like a naturally aspirated engine. Formula 4 cars they're like turbocharged, so they follow different principles. Hayabusa is known for its like motorcycle engine
Yeah.
kind of thing, and to be honest, I really loved that car because it's not aero. It's literally pure racing. There's no aerodynamic effect or aero wash or something. It's just pure racing, wheel to wheel. So, yeah, those cars are fun to drive.
I follow certain like racers who like teach online. They teach sim racing online and stuff. So they are currently also racing. So is it a new thing that now people are starting sim racing? They're learning on sim racing instead of karting, and then now they're moving to actual racing and stuff.
Yes, so that is becoming very common right now. Also, because racing is very expensive, sim racing is a very good way to get talents from all different demographics to come and show your expertise. Do it in sim racing, and there's a chance you might be good in real life as well. So even karting, if it can be six figures a year to even afford karting right now, which is, in my opinion, is just too much. But sim racing is a very good, affordable way to kind of get into the sport and prove yourself.
You've raced in both 2023 Indian F4 Championships with MP Motorsports and 2022 Italian F4 Championships with the BWR Motorsports. How did competing in these championships shape your skills as a driver?
So 2022 Italian Formula 4 was, I'd say, the biggest, the year I made my biggest improvement as a driver. My first debut championship in a single-seater my championship. And Italian Formula 4 is known to be one of the most competitive championships for Formula 4 out there. And in 2022, there was like 50 drivers in my grid. Post-COVID, everyone's internationally wanting to go back and start racing. Having 50 drivers on a track like Monza is... I don't know if you know Monza. It's one of the straightest. Like
Yeah.
it's the Italian speedy heaven, and yeah, just there's so many drivers, and there's so many. You're all basically just racing the whole lap, the whole race. You're just side by side with some person overtaking, defending. So I'd say it is a very good championship. It is the place where I learned most about what racecraft and yeah, hone my driver abilities. Indian F4 was also good, but. Yeah, not many selection of tracks. It was just one track 4 times in the championship. So, yeah, it was fun.
So, like the Indian track is where in India?
It is the last year was only in Madras International Circuit, and yeah, it's just the one track. They did 4 times, but there were some cyclones and some natural disasters that kind of prohibited us from going to other tracks and some other issues. But yeah, it was the inaugural championship of Formula 4 racing in India. So I'd say for the first time, there were many mistakes, but it was a good effort.
Yeah, because like when I used to live in India, I always wanted to go to see a race and something, but it's actually very difficult to go there. There's very less races also, except karting. I don't think you can experience much over there.
Yeah, I mean, the India is growing. The scene is growing. There was this year in the Indian Formula 4 Championship. They closed the streets of Chennai, and it was a night race that happened in the streets of the city of Chennai.
So they did like a sort of Singapore style.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think it's only the third or fourth street circuit in the world, and it was only for Formula 4 and another league called Indian Racing League. So that was really impressive because now motorsports is coming up in India, and they also have another circuit now in Coimbatore, which they're racing in right now as we speak. They raced last weekend, so it's growing, and it's going to continue growing.
Every driver faces setbacks. Could you share a significant challenge you have encountered in your racing journey and how you overcame it?
Setbacks is to keep pushing. I think results don't come on day one. They require a lot of effort, and yeah, it's just to keep pushing. I think it's a very interesting sport where you're investing so much at a chance to get some kind of results. And apart from investing money, you're investing time. You're investing you're training a lot, and it's a lot of investments with a very. It's like you're investing $1 million to hopefully get a 1 in 1,000 chance to get 10 million. That's like to put it into perspective. But yeah, it's just to stay motivated, stay mentally well, to continue pushing. Don't break down. Just keep going. So how did I come over that? I have no clue. Maybe the traveling helped. Going to all the different places, seeing all the tracks. But yeah, it's just passion. The second you get in the car, you lose track of whatever goes around you, and you just want to keep driving until the fuel's over or something.
Yeah, I think this is extremely relevant for our students as well because oftentimes they feel like low, and then sometimes they don't get marks or they don't get proper results. So yeah.
No, I get that. I think you brought up a good topic on the marks. I've studied in this school as well, so I know that marks is a big thing. But yeah, I think if it's like a piece of advice or something, it's not that hard. I'd say people say it's not that easy, it's not that hard. It's just that just gotta push through, and eventually it's not gonna be hard. Once you get the results, it's all gonna be worth it. So
You mentioned that in April you had like an accident on the track. How did that? Was it like a bit traumatizing for you, or like did that set you back or make you feel scared of the track?
it happened a day. It was a big one, but it wasn't traumatizing. I think that's a very strong word. Accidents happen. It was just it can just shock. It can be a shock, right? When you go through that accident, and it happened a day before my first race in that championship. So it happened in the free practice session, and that was the last session I did before going into qualifying. So obviously that was in qualifying when we see the data, the one corner I crashed in was the one corner I was losing 80% of my time in, because I was, you have to build up the confidence again to push through in the corner and be confident that the car is going to stick, and you're not going to have the same incident again. But yeah, I was. It was just it takes maybe just 10 laps to get over it, maybe 5 laps, and you're back in it again. So yeah, wasn't traumatizing, but it was a shock. That happens.
Okay.
Okay, so your journey towards F Formula One is supported by sponsors. So how important is this backing, and how does it impact your preparation and focus on the track?
So my journey till now has been completely self-funded.
Okay.
So my family has been very supportive. My dad and mom, they've a lot of sacrifices have happened, and yeah, I'm still trying to pay them back by getting the results. Still trying to train hard. Sponsors will definitely help. I think that's one of the, and with Team Singapore and Motorsport Singapore, there's so much support that drivers are getting, and sponsorship now would just propel us to go higher and higher. Reach levels that Singaporeans have not reached. And yeah, I mean, if you know, Perez is completely sponsored by some Mexican company. Joe is sponsored by some Chinese company. All of these people, they've gone up with either family money, which could be Stroll, or they've got sponsors to push them up. So I think sponsors is, if not the biggest thing in racing, one of the biggest things that you need. Otherwise, your racing career is probably not going to reach Formula One. You might have to end up as a GT driver, endurance driver, where it's not a bad thing. But the thing is, when people start a career in Formula 4, the end goal is always Formula 1. You're not going into the mindset that I'm going to be something else. That's the pinnacle, right? Then you work towards that. So I'm still working towards that. I'm not as young as all my other peers in my level of racing. A bit older, college student, have a bit of aspirations apart from racing as well. So pursuing all of that, and we'll see. To answer your question, yeah, sponsors is very important.
Yeah, so like, how do you like manage your expectations on a track? See, our team, like the Formula One, F1 in schools team, called Mark 10, we have like huge expectations from us ourselves as well. We want to be like the team from GIS to go to World Finals and possibly even represent them there. It seems pretty easy right now, but I know it's gonna get harder later on. So, how do you manage those expectations?
So firstly, congrats. Your dreams and Mach 10 and the participation that you're doing in F1 in school. So I think it's really, I never did that when I was in school. So it's really something to applaud. Your and the work that you guys have done. I know before the interview as well. I think it's quite impressive that at this age you guys are getting exposed to this level of education in this industry. So expectations wise, I think if you go with expectations, there's always two ways, right? You're going to get disappointed or you're going to be really happy. What I would say is, for me, I go in with an open mind and I just do the best I can. And if it falls short, then I know that next time I try again, I just have to try harder, right? You don't go in with expectations because you don't want a 50% chance you're going to be sad for the next, I don't know how many days or weeks. You want to go in to learn as much as you can. Wherever you're going, you should just keep learning. And there's going to be this one tipping point where you'll not, you've learned enough and you're going to have that one day where you're going to win. So just keep trying. Obviously, it's very nice to win on the first try, and I hope you guys do that. But you should win with an open mind, not with an expectation or unrealistic expectation.
Okay, so like, what kind of testing goes behind the scenes, or like, because if you look at these documentaries that are online about Formula One, like drivers, they're racing. So I don't remember the name specifically, but there's a certain movie about an F1 driver, and I think Max Verstappen itself. Like, it shows how he's grown from his first race as karting in karting, and then he's gone up. Those races usually show us that there's a lot of testing that goes behind. Like, they put the car through wind tunnels, and they like for making one part there's like hundreds of checks. So how does that actually like go in real life?
So that is Formula One, where they have wind tunnels and stuff,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not very sure on that front, but for the junior championships, I know that it's a one-make championship. So I'm pretty sure that the manufacturers like Tatus or Delara, who make these cars for Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2, they probably have the wind tunnel that they use for that one-make car, and then they supply those cars to us. For us on the testing, is like we're given this one piece of machinery where you can change the brake bias, differential, whatever you want, stiff, anti-roll bus, just change that, but find the best setup for you as a driver, and that's what we test for. So we have multiple testing days before season starts in different tracks, and we try to figure out the best setup because every driver drives differently. They have a different way to drive, and every setup might not suit every driver. We can see that in Formula One as well. Like Verstappen is performing compared to Perez. Maybe the car just suits him, or maybe he's just a lot better. We'll never know. But Perez is not a bad driver. We've seen in Racing Point, or whichever Force India, whatever the team is called back then, right? He's performed well. So the point is, testing is meant to just find the right setup of a car to the driver that is driving it, and that's if you want to do more, it's just because you have not reached the limit, the point where you feel comfortable with the car yet. So you keep on testing and keep on finding that limit. That people say push the limits, push the limits. So they just keep on trying to find that limit using testing.
Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned about your goal of ultimately reaching and becoming a Formula One driver. So I want to ask you, how do you set your goals? Whether it's a short-term goal or a long-term goal.
Long-term goal is the end goal. For me, it's only one goal, so
Yeah.
it's relatively easy that I know I need to reach there. Now, there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes, and for me, it's like what I'm trying to do is not done before. I'm relatively older. People get into Formula 2 or Formula 1 at my age. I'm still trying to get into Formula 3. So how am I going to do that? I don't know. I know I have a goal to reach, and I have to make my own journey, and I'm going to have my own experiences, and I'm going to have my own hardships along the way. But eventually, as long as I know that is where I say, like, okay, I've achieved it, then all these short-term goals they change every day or every week or every month for me. It just changes based on how I experience it. Tomorrow I might have an experience that changes. I have to achieve this now. So all of it should lead to my final end goal. And I kind of work around it that way, saying I have to reach there, so all these short-term goals have to fuel my journey to reach there. So that's kind of how I plan right now. Again, might change tomorrow. New goal. I'm here today, so.
I think you mentioned that you have goals beyond F1. So could you elaborate more on those goals?
Yeah, so, this is just passion projects on the side. So, I don't know if you guys know protein powders. You know that?
Yeah.
So I made my own protein powder.
Oh,
No.
So that's like the first company I'm launching.
okay.
So that is something interesting. I like doing these kind of things because it's like, yeah, I'm racing. I can't race 24 hours a day. I have to keep my mind engaged. I've studied at GIS. I've spent a lot on education. So I need to put that education to use as well, right? I've studied in college. I need to put that education to use. And I've been racing and doing college side by side. So, there's nothing stopping me from training and also trying something else on the side. So, yeah, some goals like that. I like tech as well. So I do work in a tech company in some sorts. And all of it is just passion projects. It doesn't steer me away from my eventual goal. So if someone was to ask me saying, if I give you the sponsorship right now to race, would you drop everything else? I was like, yes. I would shut down my company. I would leave the tech company. I would just focus. But the thing is, that's the thing, right? If you don't have the money to race every single day, then what am I going to do with the rest of the days that I'm not racing? And that's kind of how I spend my time. But yeah, goals on that front as well. I like making things.
So do we expect to see you on Shark Tank soon?
Ooh, I'm a bootstrapped individual right now, but like
Oh.
maybe soon, maybe soon, maybe soon. Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other question?
You asked the other questions which you have.
Okay. So we have gone through the actual racing aspect of this. Like now coming to marketing and like the behind the scenes, not the testing part, but the part where you have to build up a brand identity, because that's what F1 in schools also expects from our team as well. They want us to get sponsors. So like GIS is our current sponsor. Then there's ABEC Bearing, A&K Corporate Essentials. These companies are providing us with either funding or there's an in-kind sponsorship where they're like giving us some materials for helping. So what would you like to see in your racing career as well? Which company would you be like going forward?
Like which company would sponsor me?
Yeah.
Which company would I like to sponsor me?
Yeah.
Anyone who gives me the sponsorship. So it's not really. Yeah, maybe anyone might be like. Obviously, you have to be morally right and don't be someone who's doing money laundering to give you the money. But Uh, yeah, I mean, it's sponsorship industry is a tough. It's a tough cookie to crack, right? It's like you gotta have the network, and then you have to have the charisma, and you have to have the social identity that they want to partner with. So I did try. We had sponsorship agencies and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, in racing, sponsorships will chase you when you give results. But to give results in this industry, again, you need to have the sponsorship to prove it. So it's like again, like the chicken and egg situation. So I it's bad because I know a lot of talented individuals never make the jump into Formula racing, even though they're super talented in simulator racing or go karts, is because they don't have the funding. And how are they going to get the sponsorship if they don't have the funding to even go into Formula 4 to prove themselves? So I'm fortunate that my family supported me enough to even make that plunge. And yeah, even with that, we weren't able to get sponsorship because I wasn't able to really get the results I needed. But there is again a backstory, and I'm not gonna make excuses for anything. There's always something or the other that happens. But yeah, I think it's one of the most important things as a driver, even for yourself, to get a sponsorship to pay. Because do we have the money?
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Like I said before the interview as well, like our team, I would consider as a very low budget team. We're spending around
I'm a low budget driver as well. I
1,500.
told you.
Oh, but we're spending 1,500 compared to the 30,000 that the other teams are spending. So, yeah, the amount of things that we can also do with the money just depends on our skill. So what at this point we have decided is that we just go and do the best we can at this point, get the best car possible, best design possible, and like use things that we already have at hand. Social media is free for everyone, so this is one of the ways we are actually building up this identity of ours. So, what team are you currently racing?
Currently, I'm not racing in the British Formula 3. I was racing for Chris Dittman Racing. That was a team in that championship, but next year it's not announced yet.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, what would you say is like your favorite track out of the ones you have raced on?
Spa in Austria. So Spa is in Belgium. Amazing track, a lot of elevation changes. The Eau Rouge corner, and Austria is just because the country. I love the country. Just driving to the track, it's through mountains, and when you're driving on the track as well, it's so scenic. Yeah, it's not good because you might get distracted while you're driving, but like, it's a very well maintained track. I'd say that's a nice way to put it. To drive on it, it's nice. The design is so nice. It's flowy track. So yeah, these two.
Okay. So you mentioned that you're balancing both your education and your racing career, like through college as well. So, for us students, like in our penultimate years, where IBA one, which is 11th grade, then boards next year. So, how did you manage like both of them together properly?
I have no clue. I study on the flights. In 2022, I took way too many flights because of I missed all my classes. So I'm in NUS, and we have 10% attendance grades. So I lost 10% instantly because I was always in Italy or some other country in Europe. So I already knew I was going to be 10% lesser in my grades, and I studied on the flights, man. I had 14-hour long flights from Germany to Singapore, and then I came back for the exam. Then I flew back the next day, came back the next week to write another exam. So it the thing is, when you love what you do, I don't think it really matters. If I'm forced to do it, I'll do it. But that's a very important point. You just gotta like what you do, and everything else will just happen.
Okay.
So, sir, what advice would you give to young people, especially from Singapore, who are aspiring to follow in your footsteps and pursue a career in motorsports?
Take the plunge, get into the ocean, and then try and swim your way out. I think it's always easier to say, "Oh, I can't do it," or "I wouldn't be able to do it," or "I can't afford it." Yeah, maybe that's a valid reason if you like. Yeah, but take the plunge. Try something, and something will click. So that's one thing.
Okay. So like in how F1 is like you go and like there's tire changes. Does that also happen in your thing as well?
No. So in Formula 4 and Formula 3, there's no mandatory pit stops. The race is only 25 or 30 minutes long. So there's no unless you have a puncture because of contact, then you come in and they change the tires, or it starts to rain mid-race, then you change the tires. But we don't have we have maybe two mechanics, so they have to change all four tires with these two. So the pit stops can be maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So it's not like F1 or F2.
Yeah. So we have something for you to sign on it. Can you? Yeah, so these are smaller models of the cars that we are working on.
This is what you built.
Yeah, so this is 1 by 2 scale model. So this is around 10 centimeters. The finishing isn't as well as we hoped it to be. This was very last minute for us.
This is so nice. This is really nice. Well, explain this to me. This looks like Adrian Newey's RB17.
Okay, so that part in F1 in schools, basically the car is run using a canister, when
CO2
CO2
canisters.
canister. So if you turn around, there's like
Yeah.
a chamber there. You put the canister inside, and then you push a button. It basically
the
punctures the
canister
hole in front of the
and then-
canister, and then there's compressed
It
air, so it
pushed
just
it.
pushes out.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Wow.
And it's actually quite powerful because one of the cars has made it in about 1 second across like an entire 21-meter track.
So they're going
Wow.
at basically 21 meters per second. This is a huge thing.
What is that in kilometers an hour? Do the math. No, I'm kidding. It's actually, I'm interested now. I'm gonna do the
Is it
calculator.
multiplied by 3.6 or divided by?
think it should be
15 by
60 times.
oh, 75 kilometers per
kilometers.
hour.
Okay.
So that's a lot of speed.
Yeah.
And this is not even like world finals. This is national finals in Australia. That's that team called Horizon Racing. They
I've heard of
they
them.
went they went extreme. They were like,
They're a sim
the
racing
fastest.
team as well, right?
I don't follow them currently.
Okay.
They I think they went in 2018 itself. 2018 finals.
Do I get to keep one of this?
Ah, sure. Yeah.
Just kidding.
No,
It's super cool. Wow. All right. So then, how do you guys come up with the design actually?
so there was like there's a lot of rules. So as F1 has certain rules that you have to adhere to while making the car as well, like certain weights, certain size, length, the height as well, and
The design for the rear wing and the front wing was.
yeah, that
It's
so-
basic. It's given, or you have.
No, I have to get it made.
And
So
how do you come up with the design?
Basically, the way we do it is by firstly we think about the airflow pattern, like because we want the car to be as aerodynamic as possible.
Exactly.
So we have to think about where do we want the air to flow. For example, if we get it to flow like upwards, then what effect might that have? The
Understood.
force, the F sine theta, all that stuff. So
All right.
so yeah, we have to do calculations for that. We have to use a software called ANSYS to ensure that that there's no air getting trapped, or there's no like surface that is causing the car to slow down in the middle or something.
Yeah.
Us mentioning answers, please sponsor us. So yeah, answers basically shows you like the amount of drag that the car might observe. So
Uh-huh.
it'll like simulate basically a real life condition on the track, and it'll like
Okay.
give you the exact forces that'll be on the car. So like if you see from the front, the front wing sort of gets sloped up to the back. So
Oh, yeah.
it goes up. So that's basically pushing the air above the car. So it's giving more downforce, keeping the car on track,
Yeah.
and also like cutting through the air. So basically, if you've seen a airfoil design of a plane, is
Mhm.
sort of like a circle at the front and then gets thinner at the back.
Is this only for going straight? That's the competition.
Yeah.
Or will you have to
Yeah,
go
it's a 21-meter straight track.
straight track.
So
And
basically like a drag race.
is it do you have restrictions on the flow of the car, or you can do anything on the floor?
At the bottom of the car, yeah. So
We actually have
the-
like tether lines attached to the thing so that like the car just doesn't like fly off.
So
right
it's
before
like a
going.
safety thing.
Yeah,
They added
so-
tether lines to the track, so across the entire track, there's going to be a thin fishing line. So it goes
okay.
through the car.
So I mean, yeah, unless you're not obstructing that, you can do pretty much anything you
Oh,
want.
because
but yeah.
the diffuser. You don't have a diffuser on the car, right?
No.
Yeah.
So-
So diffuser was something that gave. That was the biggest difference in Formula 3 and 4. That gave me that gave us so much aerodynamic effect. It was the floor diffuser. Like it's.
Oh,
it
okay.
looks-
So it's causing like a suction at the bottom.
Suction
So
at
it's
the
creating
bottom.
more.
So
grip
it was
on the
like
track.
few lines at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
And used to curve into the.
Oh, I
outside.
think it's called the Venturi tunnel effect as well. Like if we go into more of the scientific part. So at the back of the car, if you see, it sort of slopes up.
This one, right?
Yeah. So that
no,
part
here.
is it's made like that so that the air is going at such a high pressure that it sort of is pulling the car down. So keeping more
Yeah, yeah.
or more the car at the bottom of the track. this is like a safety thing that
I
we
think
also went
diffusers are
through.
meant for the cornering aerodynamic, like the grip. So I don't
Okay.
think it's meant for straight. Like the lines I was talking about, it's like because when you're turning, you want the air to stay at the bottom. Like you want. I think that's where the I don't know the physics part of it, but I think the main part of the diffuser was you can corner at higher speeds. I don't think it
Okay.
helps in the straight line, but it's just interesting, man. I like this design. I should go to F1. Make an F. Give this to Haas or something. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Where do you want me to sign it?
Like at the side part, if it's like
Oh, okay.
if it works. I don't know if that. I think that's too thick.
Okay. You have practice.
It was also thrilling, just like F3. Only get one chance.
Who
Ooh.
knows? Who knows? Like once what if you like progress even higher? Not in F3, like go F1. Then we have an autograph from
Yeah.
F1 driver.
Wow.
Forward thinking.
Let's
Yeah,
hope they
forward
get some
thinking.
sponsors to reach there, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is very nice. This is really cool. So who does this go to? Who's the lucky winner for this?
So we put up a poll on our Instagram and like a giveaway. So this the person who like we choose randomly and then
Okay.
they'll get one.
Okay, sir. Finally, is there anything else that you'd like to share about your journey, challenges, or the future of motorsports?
No?
Okay,
Thank
then.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.